Hi, and welcome back to Woman's Heart Podcast. I'm your host, Edna Howard, founder of Voices of Encouragement. It's an organization designed to empower women. And I'm so excited you're joining me for another empowering message because this year we're shining the spotlight on mindset, lifestyle, wellness, and business. And we are specifically zoning in on mindset for the first 3 months of the quarter. And so we are at the last month of first quarter. And so we're wrapping it up with mindset this month. And I love to tell you that I specialize in helping women find and claim their personal power. My organization provides educational products, training, mentoring, empowerment workshops, and networking events for women all over the world. And today I am honored and privileged to have on the show with us Ms. Sharron Rouse. Now, Sharron is an experienced leader with a demonstrated history of working in education and nonprofit industries. She is skilled in program coordination, leadership, community outreach, and curriculum development. That is awesome. She has dedicated her life to influencing the world as a kidney disease, dialysis, and now transplant survivor. And Sharron actively shares her story to bring hope and healing to everyone facing difficult circumstances in their life. Now, in 2022, she started SR Consulting Services LLC to provide support and guidance to provide education and healthcare businesses and organizations. That's a mouthful. And to expand the scope of her reach, Sharron also founded Kindness for Kidneys International LLC. And it's a nonprofit organization committed to educating, encouraging, and empowering kidney warriors and their families. That is such a great, wonderful nonprofit to have. Now, this organization has gained national attention for its monthly support groups and annual holiday drives. Sharron remembers what it was like to be on dialysis during the holiday season, which is why Kindness for Kidneys serves over 500 kidney warriors and counting each year. Sounds like you keep moving up every year. So their annual holiday drive has been featured on local ABC and NBC news outlets. In addition to that, Sharron has been a guest speaker for several national and international educational and business-related conferences. Sharron is a woman of faith, an overcomer, a business owner, a nonprofit founder, and a community impact advocate and leader. Welcome to the show today, Sharron.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Edna. It is a pleasure and an honor to be here.
And we're super excited to have you. I'm looking forward to having a conversation with you.
Yes, likewise.
Yes. So let's just jump right on in. I would like for you to share from your heart who you are and what makes you get up in the morning.
What makes me get up in the morning is I am on a mission from heaven. I have received my assignment from the Lord, and that's what gets me up in the morning is that I don't want to waste any breath that I have. And I didn't always start out like this at all, but I'm at a place in my life now that I understand that time is precious and that I am on assignment and I have a purpose to fulfill here in the earth. And so that's what wakes me up in the morning. I am a wife, I'm a mother, business owner, former educational leader. And, I always tell people, honestly, those things are secondary. My utmost title or utmost, what should I call it? The thing I'm most proud of is that I'm a child of God. And I feel like everything else is secondary to that. I'm on assignment here on earth, and I want to be sure that everything that I do and everything that I say is in line with His will for my life.
I love that. That is so good. Thank you for that answer. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and who and what has helped shape you into becoming the woman and advocate you are today?
Absolutely. So in 2006, I woke up with swollen legs, and I was 31 years old. I was a mom of a 5-month-old. I was just getting back into going to work. I had her in March, but I took off until the beginning of the next school year because at the time I was a school counselor, and I took off and to spend those 5 months with her, and I had just gone back to work. And here I woke up and I had swollen legs. And I thought maybe it was back to school night the night before. I was on my feet too much, and I didn't feel bad. I was tired, but I just thought that came with the job of being a new mom. And so I went on to work, and I asked the school nurse what he thought was going on. I said, hey, I woke up with swollen legs. What do you think is going on? I feel okay. I'm tired, but I feel okay. And he's like, you need to get to the emergency room right away. And that day changed my life forever. Here I was, a new mom, 31 years old, ready to tackle the world in my career. My husband, we had all of these plans, and I'm told, you need to go to the emergency room. And I honestly didn't think it was anything major. I just thought, I was in an older building, an older school building. So I thought that maybe this was a result of just being on my feet too much. When I got to the emergency room, of course, they ran a lot of tests, and they determined that my kidneys were failing. And I tell people all the time that my world flipped upside down in that moment. And I'm like, what? And I remember the nurse coming in, and she's pulling the curtain back, and she's like, yeah, your kidneys are failing, and we're going to have to admit you today. And so I'm thinking, oh my goodness, no, I'm a nursing mom. I have to get home to my baby. I'd never been away from her like that. And so it was devastating. It was devastating, but it was the moment in time that changed my life. Right. And so we began navigating through the kidney disease journey. It was determined through a kidney biopsy that I had focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, which is where parts of your kidney cells become scarred. The parts of your kidney cells that filter, the parts of your kidney that filter waste and fluids and things like that was scarred. So mine had become scarred. And there was no known cause. I don't have a family history of kidney disease or any of that. So long story short, they were able to keep my kidneys at bay with medication until 2012, when I had to go on dialysis. And that was another whole journey that just changed my life. I didn't want to go on dialysis. I was in denial. I didn't show up for some of the surgery appointments that my doctor had scheduled for me to get the catheter in, or any of those things. I was in complete denial. And so I made a decision, and after much prayer, God was like, I can use you anywhere, Sharron. And just because you're going on dialysis, it doesn't mean that you're not healed. And I learned a lot about faith in that moment. I learned a lot about just life, and many times as a believer, we feel that we're supposed to be, live a carefree life, that, things are going to be in line, and that things are going to go well. So we don't do too well when it's time for pain. And so
well, we're happy to take on the good stuff, though, right?
Right. We're happy to take on that. But when things like this show up, we're taken back, and we're like, well, maybe I didn't pray enough, or maybe I didn't do this, or maybe I didn't do that. And God had to remind me in that moment, I took care of all that before on the cross. So it wasn't about your works or anything like that that led you to this space, but I can use this space for my glory. And that's exactly what he did. And so I did end up on dialysis. My sister came forward to get tested to see if she was a match, and she was indeed a match. And after about a year of going through a lot of trials and tribulations to get to the transplant table, we did get to the transplant table. And that was the catalyst. That whole journey was the catalyst for what I'm doing today as founder of Kindness for Kidneys, and now just recently launching a for-profit organization. I want to share my experiences. I want to use my experiences with kidney disease to change the narrative in our communities, especially in communities of color. When I walked into a dialysis facility, now mind you, I was at that time 37 years old. And so I was one of the younger patients in there. But it really shocked me when I walked in the first day. I couldn't believe my eyes, and I'm looking around like, why didn't I know about this? Why didn't I know what goes on in here? And kidney disease is a silent killer, and it's also a silent disease that you don't hear people talking about often. You hear a lot about cancer and heart disease and things like that, but you don't hear people talking about their stories with kidney disease. And so I vowed when I was sitting in that dialysis chair that, Lord, when I am well, I will be sure to go back and be a voice for the voiceless in my community, and also just raise kidney disease awareness altogether, because we weren't having conversations at our dinner tables. And yet I was sitting next to people in dialysis that had brothers and sisters and mother and father. And I'm like, wait, where are we going to end this cycle?
Right,
And
right.
so, families aren't talking about it and sharing information and being educated on how they can best advocate for themselves. We're going to continue to see the same cycles.
That's good. Yeah, I agree. Wow, that you have been through some valley moments, but your valley moments you turned into triumph in terms of switching that around and now using your platform that you have to help other people. That is such a blessing. And thank you for
It really is. And I never, I wake up some mornings laughing, like, how in the world, God, you must have a sense of
using
humor, because how
everything.
in how did I end up in this space? We have the
Right.
plans for our life, but ultimately his plan is what reigns. And so,
That's
yeah, it
exactly
was just
right.
like, whew.
Yeah, I hear you. So what keeps you motivated and focused to continue to elevate the work that you do in the world? Because you're doing some very impactful work. And so how do you, I know that everything is not perfect, doesn't go great every day, but how do you stay motivated in that to keep moving?
When I look at the families that we support and I look at their journey, when I receive phone calls from a husband who's frantic because his wife has just landed on dialysis and he doesn't know what's going on in the facility that he drops her off to 3 times a week, that's the motivation behind us continuing the work. I do get sometimes, just like, God, I don't know what I'm doing here. I've never worked in the nonprofit space to this degree. And even in starting a business, I didn't intend to do a lot of this work, but when I think of the families, when I think of my journey, when I think of the promise that I made to God, that's what gets me up in the morning. And that's what motivates me to keep going, because there are a lot of people out here that are hungry for change, that need a shoulder to cry on. And when I think of them, that's what drives the motivation. Like, there are people out here waiting for us. There are people out here waiting for us to share information with them, to help walk them through the journey. And so by banding together with other kidney warriors, that keeps me going as well. And knowing that we're on a mission to change the narrative surrounding kidney disease. But even more so for me, I want my life and my story to be a testament of the goodness of God. And so a lot of times what we have to do as believers is we have to get out of our own way. And it's not really about me. It really isn't, and yes, I may be the person speaking about it or the person planning the event, but at the end of the day, it's bigger than me. And by keeping that at the forefront of my mind, like, Sharron, it's not about you. That really helps me to keep going, because the work isn't easy. It isn't always easy, but I will say that it does bring me great joy to see people succeed and people get to a place of peace no matter what's going on around them.
Right. So God is keeping you rooted and grounded in that. I can hear, just in your presence on the Zoom call, he's just definitely using you for everything that he needs. He's just working. You're the hands and feet of Jesus. All Christians are, but some Christians don't allow him to operate the way he wants to because they want to do what they want to do.
So true. And I had to learn that. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No worries.
I had to learn that early on. I wasn't always the willing Christian.
Right.
I really wasn't. I wasn't always willing to do, or I would want to understand. So someone that has an analytical mind, I wanted to have all the pieces laid out and understand what I need to be doing and why and what and how. And so it wasn't until I actually surrendered to say, God, I don't understand this, but you know my life story. You planned this thing all out. And so my best bet is just to cling to you like I've never clinged to you before. But it was a process to get there. There's a process of releasing and letting go. But I don't think we realize the freedom that comes in that. We think that the freedom is in knowing all of the answers and knowing all of the steps and being able to navigate through those steps. But the freedom really does come when we release it and say, God, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to happen, but you clearly do. So all I need to do is cling to you, and you'll provide me the peace and the answers to move forward. And not that I'll get it right every time, but there's peace in knowing that I don't have to know all the answers and have it all figured out.
Right.
I just need to show up as a right. I just need to show up as a willing vessel and know that, if I'm in this space, clearly he sent me there for a purpose.
Yeah. It reminds me of that song, My Storage is Empty. and you just want God to fill you up with whatever He's filling you up with. You just
Yes.
wipe it all out and allow God to use you. So thank you for the work that you're doing, Sharron. This is such
Thank
an
you.
amazing podcast. I love this. So what is the biggest risk you think you've taken to grow your for-profit and your nonprofit business? What are some of the things that you've risked where you've had to
Whew.
move forward?
Oh man. I left my 9 to 5 job
Mhm,
unexpectedly in
mhm,
2021. And it was during COVID, during a time where they were expecting people to come
mhm,
back to work. And
right,
just a lot of things happened that I just knew it was time for me to make a different decision, for my life to go in a different direction. And I didn't have a blueprint. I wasn't expecting to leave my job so soon,
mhm,
but it was very clear, with the way things were happening, that it's time. It's time to
right,
launch into the deep, Sharron. It's time to jump out there and do the things that you know in your heart you've been longing to do for a long time. And I didn't necessarily feel I was financially ready for it,
mhm,
but I will say it was the best decision that I could have made,
mhm,
with God's help, of course. It was the best risk that I could have taken. And it's been a very interesting journey.
mhm.
And, saying, okay, I'm laying this down and I'm going to pick up this nonprofit and run full speed ahead with it. I'm going to launch and start this for-profit business. But I will say that was the biggest risk. And I don't regret taking that risk.
Awesome. I love to hear that. So how do you keep a positive mindset and push through adversity in your life and business? Because you have had some adversity. I mean, that your whole life, like you said, got flipped upside down. But you've learned to run your race, right? As God has laid out the track. So how do you stay motivated and with that positive mindset?
Constantly renewing my mind. And so sometimes I have to go back to my
Yeah,
why.
yeah.
Why are you doing this, Sharron? It's important to have that in writing as well,
Mm-hmm,
to be able to
mm-hmm,
look at something and say, okay, this is what we're doing. Let's regroup. And
right.
so the positive mindset has been through prayer, fasting, and just constantly going back to why I'm
Mhm,
here, why I started this work. And that
right.
helps me to recalibrate in times of despair, when I'm feeling like I'm just all over the place, or I'm getting just kind of getting into a place where I'm feeling stuck or not motivated to do the work that I know I'm called to do. And
Mhm,
so a lot of recalibrating. Sometimes you have to step back to move forward. And so
mm, that's
that's what
good.
I find is helpful. It's just kind of taking a step back, looking at where I am, praying about it, fasting, giving it to God, and saying, what's the next step? I know, we can't stay in this space. So what's next? What should we be doing next?
I love that. I love that. That's so good. So, what do you think, Sharron, your superpower is? What makes you unique? I know that there's some words that were in your bio that described you as passionate, unique, loyal, resilient. Are those words your superpower, or you have another word that
I would say yes, those words are, but more importantly, the fact that I am not on this earth by happenstance. My superpower is here, that I'm here on a mission. And so that's the superpower. That's the driving force behind who I am and what I do. It's not being here on my own strength. And so from the spiritual perspective, that is my superpower. I am always mindful that I can't do any of this without God. Like his strength is perfected in my weaknesses. And so he's my superpower, the power behind what makes me do what I do. But if you want to talk natural terms, I would say the passion. I am loyal, and I'm even learning to manage loyalty and what that looks
yes.
like in every season, because it may look different in every season. And with someone who's loyal, many times we have to really discern when we're supposed to hold on to something and when we're supposed to
Mhm,
let go, including
exactly.
relationships,
Mhm,
business deals, things like that. I'm
yes.
learning to really manage that in this season, and God has been working with me on knowing when it's time to let go and when I should
Yes.
be continuing the work and holding on. And
Oh,
so,
that's good.
that's been a real test for me.
Yeah, that's
When you're
really
a
good though.
loyal person, and
Yeah.
when you really are one that's there for people and want to do things to support people and things like that, sometimes God will say, no, this isn't a person that you need to continue in relationship, or this isn't a person that you need to do a business deal with. And
Yeah.
sometimes that can be hard for someone that's a loyal person.
Yeah, because
And then of
it's on
course,
your heart. It's in your heart. It's
yes.
in your heart. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And so those words pretty much describe me. It's interesting, when I was writing my bio years ago, I
Mhm.
contacted a few friends and I said, if you could use one word to describe me, what would you
Mhm.
use? And
I
those are
love
some of
it.
the words that they used.
That's
So
so good. They use the right words. I love that.
oh, thank
I love
you.
that you're so self-aware, which is a blessing. Just knowing that you have to sometimes let go of those things that you think that you're going to walk out. And being loyal does have something to do with you trying to hold on. So you got to learn to let go and let God. I love that.
Yes.
So what is the one piece of advice, Sharron, that you could give to someone who may have kidney disease or is on dialysis and is struggling? What piece of advice can you give that person or their families to continue to help them move forward?
I would say the best advice that I could give is that dialysis is not a death sentence. And just because you have found yourself in this space, it doesn't mean that your life is over. And many times when we're faced with adversity, especially traumatic events like dialysis and transplantation and kidney disease, life as you know it changes forever. And it's not a quick fix in most cases. It's not an easy journey. But the one thing that I would say is that this is a chapter of your story. It's
Mm,
not the whole story.
yeah.
And what if this whole entire process is the catalyst to move you into your destiny?
Mm,
What if this chapter in your story is the catalyst to end the kidney disease cycle in your family?
mhm,
And so the best advice that I would give is to um, surrender to the process.
mm,
Surrender to what's going on. Be aware of your feelings and all of that. It's not easy, be aware of them, but surrender to the process and get out of it what the message is.
mm.
And like I said, it could be, hey, I'm the only person in my family that has experienced this, but I guarantee you, if someone that comes behind me, they're not going to experience it to the degree that I did, because I'm going to make sure that people are aware. I'm going to make sure they have the resources and know where to go, what questions to ask their physicians. So it's really, about surrendering to what's going on and not fighting and resisting it. Many times when we're faced with trials, we fight it and we're in denial and we resist it. And you want to acknowledge those things, but leave those as moments and not as, the full story that you've had these things going on your entire process. So my advice would be surrender to the process and think about the what ifs. What if this is a part of my journey to help someone else? And that does require surrendering. That really requires you getting out of your head, getting out of the way and saying, I don't understand this, but I'm going to walk this thing out, and I'm going to walk it out with confidence. I'm
Mm.
going to walk it out with knowledge, and I'm going to learn everything that I can to be in a position to help someone else.
That is so good. Thank you for that piece of advice. That was very powerful, Sharron. You are
Thank
a
you.
motivational speaker. That is really good. Thank you so much. That was just so encouraging. So I know that the listening audience, if someone is going through that or is in that challenge at that moment, just your words are going to be able to encourage and empower them. So thank you for that message. I appreciate you. So you're a successful business owner, warrior, community impact leader, and woman of faith. So what's next for Sharron?
Whew, I wish I knew. I have several dreams of things that we want to do.
Yeah.
Me starting my for-profit business was to be in a position that we would always have a stream of income coming in for Kindness for Kidneys.
Yes.
And I want to use my skill sets to work with companies, businesses, and companies that are um, in the fight to bring innovation to the kidney space. The kidney disease space is one that is lagging behind when it comes to innovation. When you think of the heart space, they've come up with all kinds of innovations. They have different things. You can wear a device. You can, there's so many things. They have the ECMO machines. They have a lot of
Yes.
innovations that will help people to survive. But for kidney disease, dialysis has pretty much been the same since the inception of it. They may have made a few tweaks, but I want to be able to work with companies to share my story, to give input, and to be able to be a patient advocate for those that are dealing with dialysis, because dialysis and transplant are pretty much the only options. And for some people, they don't even have the option of transplant. So they're looking at dialysis the rest of their lives. And so I want to be in a space to be a part of that change process in the future. Our ultimate goal for Kindness for Kidneys is to establish Kindness for Kidneys health centers around the world. And this would be a one-stop shop for all things kidney disease, but it also would be a one-stop shop for people in the community to come and learn more about kidney disease, but also be involved in our nutrition classes. Those are things that anyone could benefit from. So nutrition classes, exercise, we will have support groups there. We'll also have therapy for those that want to come to get therapy. So all of the things that I think about the things that I wish I knew more about when I was on dialysis would be in the center, a job resource center. When you are diagnosed with kidney disease sometimes, and when you start dialysis, you're not able to work anymore. So being a job resource center where we're connected with companies that are willing to hire, and maybe they're not going to. So I'm thinking of someone right now who's in the construction business, who's on dialysis, and he can't perform to the degree that he once did. And so he's kind of stuck with a rock and a hard place. Like, well, what else can I do? This has been my livelihood since, I started working. So being a resource for someone like him to say, hey, we have another position, another company that we're working with that may not be in construction, but maybe something closely related to what you were already doing that's less strenuous. So having a job resource center there where we're working with kidney warriors to continue to help them continue to work and continue to have a livelihood even after diagnosis.
You have a lot you are going to do. And I am so excited because I'm like, wow, you laid out a blueprint. I mean, that's it right there. So you got a lot, and you can tell it's just flowing. It's from your heart. So this is something that God is going to allow to happen. It's just, I can't wait to see that. So
thank you so much.
Of course. Could you give us your information so if someone needs to get in touch with you, they can reach out to you, Sharron?
Sure. So our website is www.kindnessforkidneys.org. We are on most social media platforms as Kindness for Kidneys. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. You can find us at Kindness for Kidneys. And then my personal email address is S as in Sam, and then my last name, Rouse, Rouse, at kindnessforkidneys.org.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for joining us on the show today. You are truly impacting the world and making a difference to everyone around you. So thank
you. And I am truly honored, and thank you for allowing me to be on this platform and for all of the transformative work you're doing for women all over the world.
Well, thank you. Absolutely. It's my pleasure. And I want to tell the listening audience, this is a wrap. And I hope you were able to capture some gems from all the wisdom that Sharron has dropped on us today. She is very wise, is beyond the word. I mean, you are just wise, encouraging, empowering. You add that to your list of adjectives for words.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So awesome. Amazing lady. And I want to say, if you've enjoyed this podcast, please make sure you share, like, and subscribe, and tell a friend. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We want to build it up so that podcasts like this can get out into the world and people can hear what amazing women are out there doing. So please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Empowerment announcements: the Encouragement Cafe Women's Empowerment Virtual Workshop, Walk in Your Power, is scheduled to take place on Saturday, May the 27th from 9:30 to 11. You can register on the VOE website, and you can also register on Eventbrite. And if you need to take a deeper dive and get unstuck and shift your perspective or shift your mindset and thinking, then reach out to me for some one-on-one coaching or join my mastermind group discussions. Also, You can reach out to me and find me out on our website under voicesoфencouragement.com. You can find me on LinkedIn and also Instagram under Voices of Encouragement LLC. And like I always say, until we meet again, Ephesians 4:1, walk worthy of the call for which you were called.